What's up guys, and welcome back to the next episode of this VW Transporter T4 campervan conversion. So in today's video I'm going to be mounting and wiring in a lot of the electrics in the van. As you can see here, I've got quite a lot of Victron electronics that are going to be going in as well. You have a Victron Smart solar controller. I've got a Victron Pure Sine Wave 800 voltage amp inverter and a Victron 240 volt hookup battery charger as well. As well as that, I've also got the 12 volt fuse box that's going to be controlling most of the 12 volt electrics within the van as well. I've also got the solar panels with the wiring there that's going to be getting connected up to the solar controller. I've got the cabling here for the diesel heater that's mounted just beneath that little cupboard there. There's some lights cabling there as well, and I've also got to run some 12 volt cabling across all the way around and in, because here is a 12 volt Dometic fridge. And there's also going to be a submersible pump and tap for the sink for the SMEV unit as well. So that's all going to have a power cable run across and fed back again to the fuse box as well. Now to power all the electronics, I've got two Yuasa deep cycle 12 volt 90 amp hour each batteries. When they're linked together, that'll give 180 amp hours of usable power, and because they're AGM deep cycle batteries as well, they can be drained to pretty much 80% of the capacity without doing any damage to the batteries at all, and that basically gives well over 150 amp hours of usable power. And to be honest, I can't see ever exceeding anything like that, especially with a 250 watt solar panel that's mounted on the roof that's going to be going via the smart solar controller to keep the batteries constantly charged up as well. Now with the Pure Sine Wave inverter, it does mean I can actually power some 240 volt electronics off the batteries as well, once that's all wired in and powered in as well. And if the van's ever parked up at either a campsite or at home and you wanted to charge the batteries, say if it was a gloomy week and the solar panels weren't putting out much power, I've then got this Victron 15 amp hour battery charger as well. So that works off Hookup. So if you're at a campsite or at home and you have Hookup wired in, then this will then keep the batteries fully charged up as well. So I say lots of electronics to get mounted in and wired in, as well as some more cabling ran around for the rest of the electronics that are going to be going in the van as well. I've also got some USB charge points that are going to be getting mounted up there close to where I've got the panel for the diesel heater as well. So I'm going to get some safety gear out, some tools out. Let's get cracked on. Let's get some of these items mounted into the final position. We'll get the batteries secured into an area where they can't slide around when the van's in transit as well. And then we'll get all of the cabling fed back to the 12 volt distribution panel and give everything a test at the end of the video and make sure everything's all working. Now if you're after any of the parts that I'm going to be fitting in this video, whether it's the smart solar controller, the inverter, the hookup battery charger, the batteries, the 12 volt fuse board, basically anything that's going to be highlighted or featured in this video, I will have links in the description beneath the video below. So have a look below in the description. There'll be links going up to eBay where I've pretty much bought almost everything that's going into this conversion. I do prefer eBay over Amazon and a few other sites, so that's where all of my links go to. So if you're looking for any of the items, just check the description and there'll be links to each individual item going up to eBay. So let's get cracked on, let's get some safety gear out, some tools out, let's get a part of this mounted, get the rest of it wired in, and let's give it all a test by the end of the video. So let's get cracked on and get some bits done. And continuing with some of the electrics, I'm now going to be fitting in a 12 volt adapter for the cigarette type lighter, as well as some USB charging points as well. I'm going to be mounting these just beneath where I've got the heater control up in this top cupboard, and then I'll just have the cable running down the back of the cupboard side, and it's going to be coming out where all of the rest of the electronics are here, with the fuse board, things like that. So the electrics are coming on quite nicely. To get this fitted, it's just quite simply just using the mount that it comes with as a template. Put it wherever you want to, draw around on the circles on the inside of each hole, and then a hole saw basically just fills out that hole straight away. Should go straight through, no problem, and then that will give a good enough hole to get the rest of the charge points through and wired up on the other side. Very, very simple, straightforward, easy install to get these fitted in. As I say, just literally 2 holes, run the cable down, and it'll be installed. So we'll get this fitted in. This will just take a minute or two, and then we'll crack on and get the rest of it all wired up and cabled up. And continuing with some more of the electrics, I've got a nice little 19-inch Polaroid 12 volt TV here. I'm going to be mounting this on the rear cupboard area beneath the diesel heater and the USB sockets, so it's going to be mounting roughly around about there on the cupboard. I've just got a VESA mount that I've just started screwing to the back of it. I've already got one screw in at the moment, but as you can see, once that's mounted on all 4 of the mounting points, then there's just a little sliding bracket that will get mounted onto the cupboard. Slide that in, we'll get the cable fed inside the cupboard and down into the batteries that are underneath the bed. And because this is a 12 volt TV, as you can see here, it's 12 volt 3 amp, so it's not a particularly power hungry TV, but it does mean it can run straight off the batteries. It doesn't need an inverter to run, it doesn't need any step ups or step down voltage regulators or anything like that. It can pretty much just get wired directly into the fuse board. And because the TV has a adapter plug where the plug itself converts 240 down to 12 volt, what you can do with these plugs is literally just snip the plug off at the very end, use the original cabling because that has the socket that plugs into the TV as well, and then, as I say, we just cable these directly into the 12 volt fuse board. So we'll get the TV mounted on the cupboard first, then we'll get the slats up on the bed, we'll get the cable fed down, we'll get it wired in, and we'll give it a test fire up as well. But the electrics are coming along quite nicely. As I say, that's the USB installed, the solar panels and stuff's all in, but that was covered in a different video. And we're going to get the TV in now, and a few other bits and bobs as well. So let's get cracked on, get this finished off.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Right, so with the TV cabled down onto the fuse board now, I've just gave it a quick test fire up, and as you can see, it just comes straight on. Now obviously I don't have an aerial connected at the moment. The TV I'm going to be using more for USB and laptop type use. I'll just load up a few TV shows, movies onto a USB stick, plug that in, and I'll be able to watch those on the TV directly off the USB. And it also means, because it's got a VGA and a HDMI input, I can also connect a laptop or a tablet to it as well, and again use that as a display output as well. But it's a nice little TV, it mounts beautifully on that little cupboard as well. I say it's pretty much built perfect size to fit in where it's gone, and I've still got enough space beneath the TV to have a little fold up and down shelf as well. But that's the TV mounted, fully working, fully tested, and as I say, all I've done is literally cut the plug off. There's the plug off the cable, literally just snip the cable, use the original wiring with a 3 amp fuse as well, just to be sure that it's not going to be overloading and blowing anything up. It's a 3 amp output on the adapter, as you can see there, 12 volt 3 amp, so that's why I'm just using the 3 amp fuse on the fuse board. But that's the TV, fully connected, working, mounted, So that's another part of the electrics ticked off. So let's crack on, get a few more bits and bobs done. We're getting towards the end of the electrics install now. We'll get the 240 volt done and then that'll be pretty much it. But the TV's in, working, I'm happy with that as well. And this is going to be fed from where there's a false fake fog light that basically clips in and out of the back of the van there, but that's basically just a reflector. There's no light inside this and it's just a nice little void inside. Because there's a nice void inside and that just pops out with nothing behind, this is the perfect place to put a hookup point without having to drill holes or having the external mountings for the hookup point itself. So I've got a hookup point system there. This is literally going to be sat inside this little void, and we'll be able to get it out as and when needed. And when it's not needed, we just put the reflector back in place and that hides it all away. Now at the back in there, I don't know how well that's going to make out. If I put my hand in, you might be able to see, but there's a little hole here. Might be able to see my finger wiggling there. And that has a little grommet here that I've just poked a hole in. And I'm going to be feeding the 240 volt cable from the back of the van through to the hookup point, and then it's going to go off into a consumer unit that's going to be inside the van when all that gets built out as well. First things first, I'm just going to get the hookup point mounted with the cable fed into the vehicle, because then I can start building all the cabinets, things like that, and then at least I know all the wiring's in place. Right, so that's the concealed hookup point fully wired in. As you can see, there's just nothing to indicate that there's actually a hookup point there. And if you ever got to site, or if you wanted to charge anything up while you're at home as well, as I say, just pop out the fake fog light, and behind there, that's the hookup point, and that just folds straight back out. A bit easier with two hands when I'm not holding the camera. As you can see, that's the full hookup point there as well. And then when it's not needed, just fold it back inside, and we pop the light back in. And there we go, it's all hidden away again. So that's the hookup point itself done. So now I'm just going to get all of the rest of the cabling wired up to the consumer unit when I click my fingers, and I'll have a full consumer unit and cabinet all built. And there we go, that is a full consumer unit fully wired in, going off the false fog light on the rear of this VW T4 campervan conversion. Now unfortunately I have lost quite a lot of footage of this conversion. I've lost footage of fitting in the double plugs that's wired back to the consumer unit, of the single plug that's down there that's wired into the Victron 800 watt inverter. Unfortunately I've suffered a bit of a hard drive failure in my computer, and that means I have lost quite a bit of footage of the final finishing touches of this conversion. So I'm just doing a quick roundup now just to close off the electronics video. There are still going to be a couple more videos to come, but as I have actually lost quite a lot of footage, so I'm just going to have to piece together what I can actually find remaining. But in regards to the actual electronics, all installed, that's everything all wired in now for the 12 volt, the 240 volt. I've got the Victron 800 watt inverter wired up as well, for the Victron 240 volt battery charger running off the hookup, as well as a Victron smart solar controller. I've also got down there, as you can see, a split charge relay unit, and that just means that if the van's ever parked up, the solar panel on the roof will charge not only the leisure batteries but also the starter battery up the front as well. So if the van's parked up for a few weeks, a month at a time, at least I know when I do go to start it up, it's always going to have a full battery. There's not going to be any issues at all. But that is how I've got all of the 12 volts and 240 volt wired in into this conversion. As I have lost a few more bits and bobs I was going to include in this video, including fitting in the plugs, converting the TV into a smart TV by fitting in an Android box on the back of it, things like that. But I still do have little bits of footage that I will have for a couple of remaining upcoming videos. But this is just a quick roundup showing all of the electronics that have gone into this VW T4 conversion. All the 12 volts, the two batteries, all of the 12 volt electronics for the lights, the charging, TV, for the plug, the fridge, the tap, pump, everything like that. It's all wired in, it's all fully working, all fully tested. So that's how I fitted in all the electronics in this VW-T4 campervan conversion. If you haven't already, consider hitting the subscribe button. There is going to be a couple more videos to come from the footage that I have recovered that I haven't fully lost, as well as a little roundup video as well. So if you're new to the channel, consider hitting the subscribe button. If you like the video, give the video a good old thumbs up, and hopefully we'll see you on next week's video as we start to finally do the roundup of this conversion. So thanks for watching. If you have missed any of the previous videos of this conversion, they're all documented on my channel. And as I say, hit the subscribe button just to keep up to date with everything that's going to be coming as well. So thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.
It sound right, boy.